Sam Harris on the science behind consciousness and free will. In the realm of human existence, one of the most profound mysteries is consciousness itself. It is the bedrock upon which we build our identities, emotions, and every moment of our lives. Yet, despite its ubiquitous presence, we remain largely mystified by it. How do we come to understand our own thoughts and feelings? What role does free will play in our actions and decisions? Enter Sam Harris, a neuroscientist, philosopher, and author who has dedicated his life to exploring these questions. In his recent YouTube video, The Science Behind Consciousness and Free Will, Harris takes us on a journey through the labyrinthine world of neuroscience, shedding light on the intricate workings of the brain and challenging long-held beliefs about free will. Let me tell you this, you might be wondering, what if there was more to understanding consciousness than simply looking at the brain? Harris dives into the science of consciousness and free will, revealing a fascinating, yet often overlooked aspect of the human experience. Here's something you should know. Our brains are complex machines, composed of billions of neurons communicating with each other via electrical and chemical signals. When we think, feel, or act, our brains are undergoing a series of processes that allow us to perceive the world around us and interact with it. However, the idea of free will, the notion that we have control over our choices and actions, remains a contentious issue in both neuroscience and philosophy. Harris delves into this debate, providing insights that challenge our conventional understanding of ourselves. In his video, Harris begins by addressing a common misconception about consciousness. He explains that consciousness is not something that exists independently of the brain. Instead, he argues, consciousness is a product of neural activity in specific regions of the brain. He uses the analogy of a symphony orchestra to illustrate this point. Just as individual musicians contribute to the overall sound of a symphony, different parts of the brain work together to create the experience of consciousness. You might be wondering, how can we reconcile this scientific view of consciousness with our everyday experience of being conscious beings? Harris points out that while our brains generate the illusion of consciousness, they do not necessarily determine our choices or actions. Here's something you should know. The idea that our brains control our consciousness might seem comforting, but it doesn't mean that our actions are entirely determined by them. Harris then moves on to discuss free will. For centuries, philosophers have debated whether humans have the ability to make truly free choices. Some argue that our actions are predetermined by our genes, environment, and past experiences. Others believe that we have the capacity for genuine freedom and choice. Harris presents a compelling argument that challenges both sides. He suggests that while our brains may influence our behavior, they do not dictate it. Here's something you should know. Harris believes that free will is a myth, at least in the sense that we can choose between two equally appealing options. He argues that our choices are shaped by a complex interplay of factors, including our desires, beliefs, and values, all of which are influenced by our environment and past experiences. He contends that while we may not have the power to choose between completely opposite options, we do have the capacity to make choices that align with our values and goals. Harris shares a personal anecdote to drive home his point. He talks about a time when he was faced with a difficult decision, and he describes the process of weighing the pros and cons, considering the potential outcomes, and ultimately making a choice based on his values and beliefs. He emphasizes that even though his brain played a role in this decision-making process, he felt that he had the ability to choose his path. He concludes that while our brains shape our choices, they do not control them. This insight resonates deeply with many viewers, who may have experienced similar moments of self-reflection and decision-making. To further support his argument, Harris draws on the work of neuroscientists like Benjamin Libet, who conducted experiments demonstrating that people's brains begin generating the intention to act up to 200 milliseconds before they become aware of the decision. This finding challenges the traditional view of free will, suggesting that our actions may be predetermined by unconscious brain activity. However, Harris argues that this does not negate the concept of free will. Here's something you should know. He believes that our brains generate the illusion of free will because they are capable of producing a wide range of neural patterns, allowing us to feel like we are making choices freely. Harris contends that while our brains may not be able to produce truly random choices, they can still generate a sense of agency and responsibility, even if those choices are not truly free. Throughout his video, Harris emphasizes the importance of accepting the limitations of free will. He acknowledges that our choices are constrained by our biology, environment, and past experiences, but he also recognizes that this does not diminish the value of our actions. He encourages viewers to focus on living a meaningful life, rather than dwelling on the limitations of free will. Here's something you should know. He believes that our actions can still have a positive impact on ourselves and others, even if they are not the result of truly free choices. He suggests that we can cultivate a sense of purpose and meaning by aligning our actions with our values and goals, regardless of the constraints imposed by our brains. As Harris wraps up his video, he poses a thought-provoking question. If we accept that our brains shape our choices, what can we do to live a fulfilling life? He offers some practical advice, emphasizing the importance of introspection, mindfulness, and compassion. By cultivating self-awareness, we can better understand our motivations and behaviors, and by practicing mindfulness, we can become more present and connected to the world around us. By fostering compassion, we can connect with others and build meaningful relationships. These practices, he argues, can help us find meaning and purpose in our lives, even in the face of the limitations imposed by our brains. In conclusion, Sam Harris's exploration of the science behind consciousness and free will offers a compelling perspective on the nature of human experience. While our brains play a significant role in shaping our choices and actions, he argues, we do not have the power to choose between completely opposite options. Instead, we have the capacity to make choices that align with our values and goals, even if those choices are influenced by our biology, environment, and past experiences. By accepting these limitations and focusing on living a meaningful life, we can find fulfillment and purpose, even in the face of the constraints imposed by our brains. Let me tell you this, embracing the complexities of consciousness and free will can lead to a more profound and fulfilling understanding of ourselves and the world around us.